Hello FPL managers and welcome back to another video from myself, Will, and fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. I've officially activated my wildcard, so this video is going to be taking a look at my latest draft. Let's get into it. If you are new around here, then this is effectively the diary of my team as we go through the season, tracking the highs and plenty of lows along the way, aiming for my 5th top 1k finish. As you can see, I have the first red arrow of my season. I went from 131k to 175k with a game week rank of 3.5 million. So not a particularly good game week. As you can see, a little bit sparse for points across the team. I'm not going to go into too much detail around this team. My transfer for the week was Bamford back to Antonio, so at least that was a success. Ronaldo didn't come in with a captaincy. In midfield, I think Greenwood and Benrahma are still decent picks, and I think certainly, if you did want to hold them, then they're perfectly fine picks. I think Greenwood is a good pick for this weekend, as is Benrahma. Jota, I think, is a very, very solid pick as well, and potentially one that I could hang on to in my wildcard. I'll come to my thoughts around him a little bit more later. Rafinha, hopefully, he can shrug off the injury and probably going to retain a place in my wildcard. I think there is definitely an argument to hold on to your wildcard. I also think there's an argument to go in game week 8 rather than now in game week 7. I only had one free transfer. If I'd had 2 free transfers, I probably would have saved the wildcard and played it in game week 8. Obviously, there are going to be people with similar teams to this who just want to hold on to their wildcard, and I think that's fair enough. For me, though, I can't really see a time in the season with the fixture swing, with the amount of injuries, that I'm going to need a wildcard more, and I hope that I'm not going to come to regret that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go through the team and highlight the players that are locked, and then go through some of the players which I'm less sure on, and possibly some alternative picks as well. I potentially will do a final draft video on Friday. If this video can get over 2,000 likes, then I will definitely do it. If not, then I may do it. So yeah, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you do want to see that video as well. Okay, so between the sticks, I've gone for Ramsdale, and actually this is partly, one of the reasons which helped me go over the edge with the wildcard decision. I do think that he now is probably the best 4.5 option. I still think that Sanchez is a decent 4.5 option. Potentially even Ray, I think, is a really nice 4.5 option as well. Personally, I'm pretty set on going, with the 4.5 and the 4.0 million route, save money and spend money elsewhere in the side. You could look at rotation, but for me, I think that, Ramsdale, he personally looks like he's in great form. Arsenal seems to have turned a corner, and, they've got great fixtures as well. So Ramsdale ticks all the boxes for me. I can't actually see him losing his place either, unless he produces some absolute howlers. That definitely looks like his jersey to lose. Foster there, I think he's the best 4.0 option. Don't need to speak too much about him. In the back line, my first choice is Cancelo. This guy has looked absolutely fantastic for Manchester City. He's played 90 minutes every single game. Mendy is out, of course, so I think that is one less player in that position to worry about Cancelo losing minutes. Even if Zinchenko plays a couple of games, Cancelo can go over to the right-hand side. He can even go into midfield. He's personally playing very, very well, so I can't really see, a good reason for Pep to drop him. Yes, he's not as nailed on as Diaz, but he does offer a huge amount more attacking threat than Diaz. So for me, he's, if you are going to go for one Manchester City player, when maybe you're not on a wild card, maybe you're looking to transfer out Trent Alexander-Arnold potentially, then I actually think that Cancelo is the pick of the defender bunch at the moment. The next nailed-on player is probably Rudiger. Chelsea, as we've talked about, has got a very, very nice run of fixtures. He seems absolutely nailed on. He does possess some goal threat as well. There aren't too many negatives to go with Rudiger, and I think he's a fantastic option. Moving on to the midfield, then obviously Mo Salah isn't going anywhere. Rafinha, as long as he's not injured, is also a player which I do want to hang on to. Leeds have got fantastic fixtures. Rafinha has been producing great numbers. He's looked very, very good as well. Obviously, that injury that he is carrying at the moment is a little bit of a worry, but certainly for the time being, if he keeps getting starts, then he's a player that I definitely want in my side. Lukaku, he's a player that, partly why I wildcarded just because of Chelsea's ridiculous run of fixtures. We can have a look at the fixture ticker on Fantasy Football Hub, which is obviously much more accurate than this. But, just from a brief glance there, you can just have a look at Chelsea's ridiculous run of fixtures. So he obviously comes into the side, and Antonio is another player which is pretty much locked in for me. I don't see any reason to go without him. I think that he's looked in ridiculous form. So yeah, another player that's completely locked in for me. Okay, so I would say that these players are absolutely locked in for me. I would say that I am pretty keen to go for a double Chelsea and double Manchester City, double up in defence. Lots of doubles there. So Diaz, not quite as threatening as Cancelo. Some people are saying he doesn't have any goal threat. I don't think that is true. He does definitely possess some goal threat. And, I think that he's obviously completely nailed in that Manchester City backline. Manchester City, by the way, have just incredible defensive numbers. And, I think that teams are just going to struggle to score against them. And I think a double up in defence is looking very, very shrewd move at the moment. And obviously Cancelo offers that more attacking threat, slightly less nailed, and Diaz is completely nailed with slightly less attacking threat. But I think both of them are fantastic options. I'm also pretty set on a Chelsea double up. The question really is what player to partner with Rudiger. At the moment, Alonso has played 90 minutes in every game so far this season, kind of similar to Cancelo. Obviously, I think there's more chance of Alonso losing his place. However, he is just such a fantasy football beast that if he is getting those minutes, he's going to be a ridiculously good option with those fixtures. And the other thing is that he is playing pretty well. So there isn't sort of an obvious reason for Tuchel to drop him. There are going to be rotation with Chelsea, rotation with Chilwell, which does worry me slightly. But, when it comes to Alonso, I think that if he is playing, if he is starting, then to a certain extent, you just got to get him in your team. And when he loses his place, when he begins to get more rotated with Chilwell, if that happens, because, he could just retain his place and be a fantastic option for this run of fixtures. So, that's the other side of the coin. And, even if he doesn't play every single game, I still think that he's got, the potential to be one of the best value players in the game, especially with that run of fixtures that Chelsea have. So for me, that he is going to come into the side. I do think that obviously Reece James potentially could be a good shout when he comes back. Azpilicueta is also a good shout. You've also got Christensen. There are definitely more options in that Chelsea back line. But, for as long as Alonso manages to keep his place, then I think that he's probably the pick of the bunch just because of his ridiculous attacking threat. Okay, the other player that I am probably going to lock in is Brownhill. He's looking like the pick of the bunch from the 4.5 million options, and he's 4.4, so you are saving a little bit, but he is looking pretty attacking as well. So I would say that these players I'm pretty certain on going with my wildcard. The remaining 4 slots, though, are very, very much in flux and very, very much up for grabs. As you can see, I did have Trent Alexander-Arnold in there, and I was pretty set, actually, on going very, very big at the back, going Alonso, Rudiger, Cancelo, Diaz, and Trent. And personally, if you go back a few years, then I would have said that this is very, very inflexible. But actually, the reality of it is that fairly easily you could downgrade someone like Trent or Diaz or Alonso to a Livramento and free up funds to upgrade your midfield or your strike force. It's not sort of the end of the world having a slightly inflexible formation like this. It is something that you have to consider, If I wanted Ronaldo back, for example, getting money out of that back line would prove very, very difficult. And Ronaldo is a player that I do want back in my side eventually. Having said that, though, with Trent out, and I think it is worth reiterating that he is only out for 3 weeks, which, if that is to be believed, then he is only going to miss the Manchester City game, potentially also the Watford game. But, if you've got him in your side and you're not wildcarding, then I think there's a very good reason for holding on to him, because he's not going to miss too many games. The flip side to that is that Liverpool don't have amazing fixtures, and with something like a groin injury, it could drag on a little bit. He could be out for a little bit longer than 3 weeks. So there's enough doubt there for me as somebody who's wildcarding to not have him in my side. Okay, so just switching over to a different screen here to show a little bit of the tinkering. I am thinking that, Livramento, originally, annoyingly, I took him out of my side and I've lost the value that I had in him. So I'm a little bit annoyed with myself with that. If you are on a wild card, don't make that same mistake. If there's a player which you think you may keep in your side, then don't transfer them out. So I'm a little bit annoyed with myself losing the 0.1 there, but not the end of the world if I bring him back in. He's obviously incredible value, and after the Chelsea match, Southampton have got a great run of fixtures, so at 4.2 that you can't go too far wrong with him there. These last 3 spots now, I'm really not sure on. I quite like the look of either Smith Rowe or Saka. As we've mentioned, Arsenal do have a really nice run of fixtures. We just switch over to the fixture ticker here. As you can see, they are 3rd for easiest overall fixtures from game week 7 to game week 13. So yeah, a really nice run of fixtures. The one thing I would say about Smith Rowe and also Saka to some extent is that their underlying numbers are sort of not fantastic. I know Arsenal haven't been setting the world alight in sort of the first 3 matches, so you could look at a slightly different data set and say, yeah, they've really begun to turn a corner over the last sort of three game weeks, and there you are beginning to see the semblance of a little bit more form. To be honest, Saka is looking like the stronger out of the 2 based on these numbers, and certainly based on watching them as well. I do think that Saka is looking like a very strong option. But again, you've got to factor in the price difference there of almost 1 million, and Smith Rowe does seem a little bit friendly on the budget. It's always a tricky price point that, around the 5 million, 5.5 million mark. Is it a player that, you want to be playing every single week? Probably not. But, could he be a good squad player? I think absolutely. I'll go again, do you want to really be benching a 5.3 million midfielder? I'm not 100% sure on. So I do have some concerns around Smith Rowe. The other player that I am also considering is Jack Grealish. Now, I know that he hasn't been completely setting the world alight, but again, Manchester City have a good run of fixtures, and I think that he could be a very nice option indeed. Again, comparing him to Saka over the season, I think that he obviously slightly edges it, but again, he's coming in at 8 million. So, just switching back to the team here, one example you could do is Smith Rowe and then Grealish, and then you would still have 7.8 in the bank to go Jimenez. I've chosen Jimenez there again because if you switch back to the fixture ticker here, Wolves have a very nice run of fixtures there. Newcastle, Aston Villa, Leeds, Everton, Crystal Palace. Really nice run of fixtures. Jimenez has got his goal, so hopefully he can build on that. He can get a little bit of confidence. I know that he's not the player he was once, but with those fixtures, with that goal in the bag, potentially he could go and score a few more goals. And the other reason I do like Jimenez is because he's been producing pretty good numbers actually. This is total shots in the box over the first 6 game weeks, and as you can see, Jimenez coming in 3rd there. He's ahead of the likes of Lukaku, Bamford, Ronaldo. Obviously, Lukaku and Ronaldo having played less games, and they're not too far behind him anyway. But I do think Jimenez, considering he's got his goal, considering he's got very good fixtures, hopefully he can get that little bit of confidence. I think that he could be a very shrewd pick. Okay, so I feel like I'm not too far away from sort of finalising a team here. The biggest question marks for me are the Smith Rowe, Grealish and Jimenez position. I think there's a lot of different options in around those price points. I still really like Jota as an option. I think that Firmino potentially could come back in and play the Manchester City match. And, as a Jota owner, would that worry me? Yes, potentially. Although I do think that Jota plays the easier matches. Firmino tends to be preferred in the harder matches and Jota tends to be preferred in the easier matches, which as an FPL manager and as a Jota owner is actually pretty good. You don't necessarily want him playing against Manchester City. Someone like a Smith Rowe could come in. So I've actually not ruled Jota out completely either. There is another option, which is to go with just 2 up front and go with Lukaku or Antonio, switch Jimenez down to a 4.5, upgrade Smith Rowe to someone like Jota as well, and go Jota, Grealish, Rafinha, Salah, Antonio, Lukaku. and go 4-4-2. I think that's a very, very strong way to go as well. The last thing I would mention is that I haven't completely ruled out keeping Ronaldo. And, you know, you look at Lukaku's stats here and you think, you know, those are fantastic stats. He looks like a brilliant option, and they are very, very good stats. And of course, he has fantastic fixtures, which is partly the reason that I am bringing him in. However, if you compare him to Cristiano Ronaldo, then it is a little bit frightening how much this guy is just a stats monster. You just look at that and you just think, am I a little bit crazy, you know, wildcarding to get this guy out of my team? You know, those are just pretty frightening statistics right there. So, you know, they're obviously, I'm a fixtures guy, and Ronaldo doesn't have the best fixtures. Everton at home, I do think, is a decent fixture, and I am a little bit worried about that. But, you know, going forward, am I going to captain him in the rest of those fixtures? No. Is spending 12.7 million on a player that you're not going to captain too much? Yes, and that was sort of my rationale for wildcarding. The reason that there is still a chance he could end up in my team is obviously the Trent injury, and with Trent out, it does free up funds to potentially get Ronaldo into your side. Obviously, you still need to make sacrifices elsewhere. Okay, and just as a very, very quick example of how you could fit Ronaldo, Salah, and Lukaku into a team, this is a 4-3-3 formation. I'm not a big fan of going sort of, you know, Douglas, Luiz and Brownhill. And, you know, potentially you could transfer out Antonio, but I just don't want to get rid of Antonio either. You know, Antonio for me is way, way more of a lock than someone like Ronaldo. Again, you know, you could run with this. It's not sort of something that you're absolutely locked into. It'll be very, very easy to downgrade Ronaldo to someone like Jimenez, upgrade Douglas Luiz to, you know, someone like Grealish, and upgrade Livramento to Trent. You know that's 3 moves, and, you know, as Trent comes back into the frame in a few game weeks, then that's certainly something to consider. And, you know, I haven't ruled out going with something like this. And again, you know, I think Ben White is a good option for Arsenal. As we've mentioned, Arsenal have a great run of fixtures. He's obviously dropped to 4.4 million as well. So going with someone like this, I think is definitely an option. I'm more leaning towards the previous team. If you are interested to see my final wildcard team, I will 100% be revealing that on Twitter. My handle is @FFH_Will. I will try to do a video on Friday, and like I said, if this video gets 2,000 likes, I will probably do it. So make sure to hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed if you do want to see that video as well. But otherwise, you know, let me know in the comments what you think of these wildcard drafts, or whether you think I was right to play the wildcard anyway. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.